one night he was in his room just hanging out, and he said everything flew off his shelf, so he ran out of his room, and he goes down the stairs, and his dog is standing there just looking at him crying. He's like, "What's wrong, buddy?" And the dog literally ripped off half his face.
Welcome back to the I Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on a Mr. Austin Lawrence. I threw my fishing line out there on Facebook, a couple groups, and he was like, "Hey, I'll come on." And I was like, "Great, fantastic." He's a investigator. We're going to get into what he's getting into, what kind of evidence and stories and all of the above. So, big news. I'm speaking into the future, so this has been a month ago. I am finally on Spotify. It took me quite a while because I've been very busy. I'm also on Rumble, as you all know, and and I'm also here on YouTube. So if you like what you see and you keep coming back, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll have a good old time. What happens once a week? We have a live show at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays every week, and then on every Saturday at 6 a.m. in the morning, you get one of these episodes. And if you're a member, you get to see the episodes. About a month beforehand, an episode, I drop one out there. You guys get to see what we're into in the future. So when it does come out, you won't be watching it, but at least you get a little bit of a preemptive, like, hey, what's going on here? Anyhow, that's enough rambling for me. That was incredible, wasn't it? Anyhow, without further ado, welcome to the I Jupiter podcast, Mr. Austin Lawrence.
How's it going, man?
It's going, dude. What about you?
Oh man, it's definitely going. It's been a day, man. No sleep, but we're here.
You're telling me you're doing night shift. What kind of night shift are you doing? Where are you working at? The trains? You working with trains? Was there a train behind
you? No, I typically work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. But weekends like this, when I got to get stuff done, it's get 2 hours of sleep and suck it up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, for those who do not know who you are, please do me a favor. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you.
Yeah, so as you said, my name's Austin. I've been a paranormal investigator for 10, 15 years now, somewhere in there. I am the author of Taylor Mill Horror, which is a book about a case I took on some years ago. Wildest case I've ever been on. Recently, I got into the fiction genre with my book Hell's Carnival. And right now, we over on Strangely Haunted, we're making documentary paranormal films. So lots of stuff going on.
Fantastic, dude. Wow, you are a busy man. You try to get away from your 6 to 6 to go out and do what you want to do.
You know it. That's why we don't sleep.
How dare you try to free yourself from the machine? How dare you, sir?
Right. I know it.
That's what I'm doing. I put in 2 airco units today on some vacation house here in Mexico. Did some wall plaster and I'm sanding some doors. Just doing what you're doing. Just differently, because I used to have a job too where I would work nights and lates and swings and mornings, and they would all move around. And then after 10 years, I didn't know where I was or who I was. So yeah, just keep plugging away, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I'm at too. Luckily, night shift works good with being a paranormal investigator because then you're awake those hours normally. But when it comes to being a normal human being, doesn't quite jive that well. But,
Which you and I do not qualify for.
Right. That's why we're here.
So what state are you in, dude?
I'm in Ohio.
Ohio. All right, I'm from Maryland. I always say originally, but that's so stupid. I think it's the dumbest thing. I'm originally from Maryland. I'm from Maryland, from Baltimore,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting. So I know Ohio has a lot of rundown, old Rust Belt states, a lot of old cities, a lot of dilapidation, and especially when all the steel mill moved and
Yeah.
excuse me, all the work moved, and like the towns are having a lot of issues there. So I'm sure you have plenty of places to go and run your show there.
Yeah, there's quite a few places in Ohio, but my partner, he's from Nashville. So
Okay.
Kentucky is a different type of weird. Pretty much anyone in the paranormal field knows that Kentucky is just, I mean, there's no words to describe it. You've got everything going on there, from the hauntings and the deep history with the Civil War and stuff like that, to cryptids, to, I mean, you name it, it's probably hanging out somewhere in Kentucky.
No kidding.
So we've really been hitting Kentucky really hard, because
So
it's
you kind of
just
like
such
meet
a weird
in
place.
between. You kind of meet in between to do your investigations.
Yeah, we'll either meet in between, or I'll go down to Nashville. There's some places around there that we'll do, but I know here in 2 weeks we're actually gonna be filming a full documentary at a house that he actually bought called the JB Knight House, which is a very historic home. It's been everything from Civil War hospital to where they hold lakes to, I mean, all kinds of crazy things. And it's actually in Hopkinsville, which is also
Okay.
pretty
Have you ever been to
cool.
the? I'm sorry. Have you ever been to the Land Between the Lakes?
So I have not, but that is in the works.
Because that has
We
to be on your
are.
bucket list. Because Nashville is what, like 2 hours away, hour and a half, something like this.
It's something like that, yeah, and that's a place that
Yeah.
he's been to many of times. I've
Oh,
heard tons
okay.
of crazy
Well,
stories about it.
you got to send me
Especially,
his information. I would love to talk to him about that.
yeah, absolutely. But we're
Nice.
planning on doing something with that
Okay.
here in the fall when
So
it's not undeadly hot outside in Nashville. You know.
it's been between 95 and 110 here for about a month and a half.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm way down here on the Yucatan Peninsula, so it gets hot down
right.
this mug. Hot. I mean, the Mexicans look at me on the roof. They go, "Oh, the white guy is good." They actually say that. They call us güeros, which is white guy. You know,
Okay.
and you're gonna die up there. It's like a lot of water and intermediate breaks with shade. I can do it.
Not me.
So,
That's why I'm from Ohio.
but documentary films after making books, what made you go from? What made you say I'm going to take this giant leap into documentaries? I mean, is it just an interest of yours, or you just always wanted to do it, or how did that
Yeah,
come to pass?
it's something that I've always wanted to do, and it was primarily what I wanted to do. The books kind of came afterwards because it's really hard to find people to make films with. Um, so then I found like, it's a lot easier just to write. But yeah, so it was something I've always been interested in. I was in one a couple years ago that's on Amazon Prime, and after
Okay,
that one, I
wow,
was like, you know what, I want to do my own, something where I have full creative control over, and make it better in my eyes. So luckily, I hooked up. His name's Eric Freeman Sims from the. He hosts the Unseen Paranormal podcast. We linked up a little over a year ago, and
okay.
we just kind of saw eye to eye, and we're like, let's just go out and do this.
What are you guys
So
looking at for funding? I mean, or do you have like a GoFundMe page or something like this to get some funds, or you're just going to kind of shoot from the hip? I
we've
mean,
been
not
shooting from the hip, yeah.
figuratively.
No, yeah. No, we're completely self-funded. He does the podcast full time. I still have my job, but everything that we do, we pay for, and we have no source of income as of now, as far as that stuff goes. So it's a bit of
Yeah,
a struggle, but you got to pay to play.
right. So how did you get started in this whole thing? Like, what was the thing that happened? Did you have something that happened to you when you were a child, or there was an incident, or how did you come to do this as your passion?
Yeah, so there was a lot of things growing up. I can't really pinpoint one thing, but living in a well over 100-year-old farmhouse on Native American land. Um,
That'll
had
do
some
it.
things happen, and basically everyone told me I'm kind of crazy. So I mean, I was 5, 6 years old, and I was researching this stuff hardcore. And
Wow.
then eventually, what really got me doing it probably was when Ghost Hunters came out on TV, and I was like, "Whoa, these are quote unquote normal people," and I didn't know this is stuff that normal people did and could do. Um,
I was in Europe for 20 years. I've never seen any of those shows, Ghost Hunters or any. I remember there was one on NTV where they had with the cameras in their faces and they were running
yeah,
around. I
yeah.
remember that one. I don't remember
Oh,
what
I
it was
forget what
called.
that was called.
Freaked Out or something. I don't know what it was called.
Something, yeah.
Something like that. So I guess so you've seen this show and you're like, okay, there's actually people that are sensible that are doing this, and I've always been interested in it, so I'm going to do this as well.
Yeah, exactly. I never really realized it was something that was, done. I thought it was um something that, the only people that you really read about doing this stuff back then was like Ed and Lorraine Warren was like it, you know. So after I realized this is stuff that like people do, I decided, well, let's do this. And it's funny because I actually end up linking up by extreme chance with a guy who lived in Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
his
Now
his
that's
aunt
interesting.
was, I believe it was his aunt, was the first person to report the sighting of the Mothman.
What was it? What's her
It was
name?
someone I can't remember. It's been some years. It's been about 10 years now.
Because I spoke
Um,
with Linda Siegman, who's also who's seen whatever you say. What's the word I'm looking for? That person, eyewitness of the
yes, there we
Mothman,
go. There we go.
UFOs, and everything that happened, and the premonitional dreams that they were having about the
Uh-huh.
bridge falling in Ohio there and everything. Yeah, she told us about all that. So yeah, that's interesting that you run across somebody like that.
Yeah. So I was basically living like part-time in Ohio, part-time in Point Pleasant, so we could go out and we could film various locations, a good 10 years ago. And
Wow,
we started with Waverly Hills, and then we just went on from there.
that's a very
But
famous one.
yeah, Waverly Hills is a really cool place. That's one place that I'm a big skeptic. I'm a skeptical believer, but I will say Waverly Hills is definitely the real deal, without a doubt.
Yeah, so being skeptical means you try to make sure you step back and don't get caught up in your emotions and your feelings and look at it from a point of view in which everyone can go in and measure the activity in which you are receiving or perceiving. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And all of our videos and stuff, I will never say this is evidence of a spirit. I will never say this is proof of a ghost. This is, nothing like that. It's just we caught this. We have spent days trying to explain it. We don't know what it is. You tell us what you feel it is.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
so we always try to take that skeptical approach because sometimes it could be something that we just never ran into before, and it could be some sort of explanation that's
True.
logical and makes sense. So we really don't get caught up like some people do and saying, no, this is evidence. I don't care about your explanations, and get all emotionally tied into it.
Well, there's a
We're
couple
just out
big
here trying to,
channels. Yeah, there's a couple
yeah,
really big channels that we won't mention, but there's one where there's two of them that are the same. There's
yep, yep, gotcha,
which there's a you're right. There's a couple of those where I'm like, come on, guys, But there's a couple things that they catch where you're like, okay, that was crazy. But at the
right,
same time, it always leaves a bit of a funny taste in your mouth
yes,
because as far as
it's
I
been
know from
tainted,
paranormal, yeah, there's a lot of like sensationalism involved in a
yes,
lot of this. Especially in what I do in a podcast or two, there's a lot of that as well, where people are like, it's the craziest night ever, and from what I understand, I've had a few paranormal investigators on the channel, and they're like,
hmm
it's quite boring sometimes. You're out there
oh
for
yeah,
hours on end, and then maybe you'll get like an EVP um, or some type of weird sign on some type of trimeter or something that you can't explain because there's no electric on in the building. But there's
right,
also times where like they'll I was talking to I think about 3 weeks ago. He's coming on next his episode released next week. He was a sergeant first class who retired from the military, so I'm former
oh wow,
military. So I
Okay.
know how these guys work, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm sergeant this, sergeant that. I only made it to specialist, which is like a corporal, but depending on what kind of job you do. And he was like no frills. He said Somalia was way scarier than anything he's experienced in the ghost field. Although there was one time where like a door opened to a hutch that he couldn't even open with his hand. So he was
Wow.
like, okay, this is something. And so I guess the run of the mill question would be, what evidence have you caught where it's just so unbelievable that it just compels you to keep doing what you're doing?
So, whenever I get asked this question, people kind of laugh at me because I've caught all kinds of stuff. Um, Taylor Mill Horror, we got a full body apparition. Absolutely
Wow.
insane. So we've caught some crazy stuff, but the one thing that I always go back to, and it's a place that hopefully we'll be filming one of our next documentaries at, and it's a jail in Indiana called the Old Blackford Jail. And the reason why sticks with me is because, like I said, I'm a big skeptic. And what had happened was we were sitting in the kitchen where we had our base set up, and the owner of the place was hanging out in there, and he was getting ready to leave, and he was going to let us have to run the place for the next 4 nights we were staying there.
Oh wow, that's
And
cool.
so, yeah, so he was in there, he was talking to us, making sure we were all good and everything. And out of nowhere, there was just this loud ass crash, and we're like, "What the hell was that?" And he said, "I think someone broke in. You guys stay in here. I'm going to go investigate." And I was like, "Well, I'm going with you with a camera. So if one of us gets shot, at least we have it on video, you know?"
Yeah, something. I
So
got you. Yeah.
right. So we walk around this place and we find no one anywhere. And so it's an old jail, and it's split off to the left side would be where your jail cells are, and the right side would have been the, I don't know if you call him the warden, but the sheriff. I'm not sure what the title would have been back then because it's a really old jail. But the other half was his living quarters. So there was a staircase that went up the stairs. It was a set of stairs, and there was a small landing, and then you go up another set, and it goes into the living quarters. And so they had went all the way up to the attic, and I was checking the second floor, making sure there's no one in there, and saw nothing. So I went down the stairs and I stopped on the landing because I heard them coming down. Now, before we start our investigation, we always do a walkthrough, and we always record with their cameras and everything because when you go back and you think you caught something, you could have something to reference to.
Okay.
If you caught a strange noise, you could go back and be like, okay, when we did our walkthrough, did our cameras act this way or catch anything that sounds like this when we're in that
Yeah,
area,
dude. Right. There's a door there that's open that we can't shut. It's a little windy out, so it's going to make a little noise. So if we hear that, then we know it's that. I got you, dude. That makes sense.
Exactly. So I'm standing on this landing, and they come down the stairs, and we're just standing there talking like we didn't find anything. And then the owner was like, "Oh my god!" He said the painting fell, and I was like, "What painting?" And I look up, and there was this painting that had fallen down on top of this little shelf there. And he said, "Yeah, my grandmother or great grandmother had painted that." And he turned it around, and it had one of those wire hangers, and
Right.
the wire looked like it was cut clean in half.
Oh my god,
And
dude.
so it had fallen down, and we're all focusing on that. And then my partner was like, "What the hell is that sound?" And there's this ticking sound, and it was the clock. And I remember it because I had commented on it on our first walkthrough with him. I thought it was a cool clock. My parents had one just like it, and he told me, he was like, "Yeah, it hasn't worked since he bought Jim Jones's boyhood church." And the
Whoa,
little clock
whoa,
was actually,
whoa,
yeah.
whoa, whoa. I'm sorry, dude. Did
No,
you
you're
say?
good.
Are you talking about the Jim Jones?
Yes, sir. That might be a place
Oh
that we're
my.
gonna go check out here in a couple of weeks.
What guy? What French Guyana?
What's that?
French Guyana, where the mass happened, or the mass. I think I gotta cut that word, but the mass.
Yeah.
We are no longer here happened.
No, so this is in Indiana. His boyhood church
Oh,
actually
his
still
boy.
sits there.
Oh, because
Yeah.
I know he was in San Francisco and then he went. Okay,
Yep.
okay,
At some
that's
point, he made his way to
crazy.
Indiana.
Okay, that's a
Um,
really interesting connection.
yeah. So he had the clock that he found there, and it was sitting on the shelf. And when we were talking about it, he said, yeah, it hasn't worked since I moved from the church because those old clocks have those weights in it. They have to be balanced, and someone has to know what the hell they're doing to get those to work. So the painting had fallen onto the clock, and it made it work. And the weird part is we're like, holy shit, look at the time. The time was correct to the second. So
Oh my.
somehow this painting had fallen down, hitting the clock, and started it at the exact second that it was, in real time. And I'm sitting there, I'm going through these explanations, and then I'm just like, I got nothing at this point. And
That's insane.
yeah, it to make it even crazier, when we were sitting in the kitchen, my partner said it's 11:11, make a wish. And I was like, man, I hope we catch something unexplainable tonight. Maybe 30 seconds later is when we hear that bang. So that clock had been stopped at 11:11 and just happened to start back up again because this painting fell on top of it at 11:11. And that's something that sticks with me because I literally cannot come with any sort of explanation. It's not one of those things like, oh, okay, I was just seeing things, my eyes were adjusting. Maybe it was, electrical interference, maybe it was radio waves. I got nothing. There's so
Right.
many levels to that had to happen to where I can't say it wasn't something paranormal.
Not only did it start, which is odd enough, the painting falling
Right.
down, cutting two on the wire, odd. Not that it,
Yes.
not only did it hit the clock started, but it's on the exact time. The
Exactly.
all the things to line up for everything to make that work would have to be, something out of the normal, hence paranormal. So that's wild, dude.
Yeah,
It's
and
wild.
that's something that has kept me up at night many nights because I just wonder, like, okay, so why did that clock originally stop at 11:11, and why did it get moved to here, and why was I there when this happened to happen?
Hmm.
Was this all not coincidental, but coincidental in the fact that I was there when this happened, or was there a giant meaning to this that could predate, months? This could have been months in the works, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or it could have been some bloodline where your great great grandfather on your mother's side, once removed, was a warden at the
Right.
jail.
Right, exactly. I mean, literally, it just keeps you up at night.
Really? And the full body apparition doesn't?
No, because that's one thing that I can accept. I'm like, okay. See, my problem is I need to have answers to everything. So, especially my partner,
Really?
we'll go back and forth all the time. We just did last night over a piece of evidence. I'm like, so explain it to me. He was like, I can't. It's paranormal. I'm like, no, but I need an explanation. He's like, it's paranormal. There's your explanation. I'm like, no, but really, you know. So that's the type of person I am. But full body apparition, I can't disprove it. Especially because it was shortly after the Taylor Mill Horror, the
Okay, this is
homeowners
the
got
one.
ran.
Is this the one you wrote
Yes,
the book about, right?
correct.
Okay, so make sure you leave out some of the details so people want to go and buy your book, brother.
Absolutely. But the family had got ran out of the house. We happened to stay there. Um, anyways, the homeowner was asking this little girl to show herself, and then we captured her on video like right after. But the weird thing about that was when we went in, we didn't expect this place to be haunted. We were given this place as a place to stay while we investigated Bobby Mackey's. Um, so we weren't expected to be haunted, but um, I ended up seeing this little girl walk across the living room and into the bedroom. And the homeowner at the time was literally on his deathbed because he swears what was in his house was killing him. Um, so they end up
Wow.
getting out, and he ended up getting better. And we were like, we got to talk to this guy. We got to talk to him. And everyone's like, no, he's not going to. Well, he came in and he stayed the night with us and talked to us. And one of the stories he told us was about this little girl, and he explained to her exactly how I did. And at that point, I was like, oh shit, I guess I really did see that. Um, then
Okay.
to capture her on video, it's just like it's insane, and it's something that I can't deny. I just have to accept it.
So you wrote a book about this whole encounter and this experience.
Yeah, so basically, it's kind of from his perspective because
The
his
homeowner.
yeah, because when we went
Okay.
in, like I said, we knew nothing about it. We knew nothing about the location. We just wanted a place to stay, and they were giving it to us. Very quickly we realized, holy shit, this place is really messed up. To the point where after the first day, we had investigated all over. We said we're never returning to this home ever again.
Whoa.
But about a month later, we were like, we got to go back and let's stay for an entire week. So we did, and I will say that was arguably the worst week of my life.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Did anything like maybe hitchhike onto you and follow you home?
yes.
Oh, could you get into that a
Yes,
little bit, maybe? Because I don't know, maybe that's in
sure.
the book. If it's not in the book, then we can definitely get into it.
No, it's not really in there.
Okay.
So I actually have a photo that I still
Oh
have of this
wow.
thing.
Sure, go ahead and share it, dude.
Yeah.
Or pop it up on the screen, or however you do that.
Let me.
You can show me how to do it.
I'll have to
Present.
find it somewhere.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, dude, I'll play
I'll
some
find it
elevator
and I'll
music in
send
here.
it to you. There you go. All right. I got you.
Go buy some
I've got this
underwear at
somewhere.
Kmart.
But yeah, so this thing that I will find a photo of, it definitely was following me around, and it got really bad. I remember right after I'd first gotten home, I found it. Let me send this. Actually, I'll start with the story of this. I'll send it to you on Facebook real quick, since it's on my
Okay.
phone. Um, so the story behind this photo is I would see this thing standing next to me just about every single night, watching me sleep. Uh, it was
Okay.
pretty horrifying, and but eventually I kind of got used to it because I kind of had to, you know.
What the is this looking through the door? What is this?
So
What
that's
are we
standing
looking at?
at. So that
Oh,
is
this black
standing at.
figure.
Yeah, correct. So that would be standing at my door, and that would have been about maybe
Really
10
hard to
feet
see.
from my bed.
Okay.
Um, so one night I remember seeing it, and
That's impossible to see.
I told my buddy about it, I guess, and then I went to sleep. This time I was working swing shifts, so you know how that goes. I'm in and out of it. I don't know what's real, what's fake. I don't know what day it is or anything. So I remember waking up the next day, my buddy just blowing up my phone, and he was like, "You okay? You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" And he was like, "Do you not remember last night?" I'm like, "Not really." And he was like, "You
Oh
need to
my
check
God,
your messages."
I
And
was
then
gonna
I
say, were you
checked.
drink? Were you guys out drinking?
No. I was just working swing shift, man, and that gets to you.
And so you don't
So,
have to lie, Austin. It's okay.
but I thought it was all a dream, and then I checked my messages. I'm like, "Oh shit, this is real." But I mean, after that, we started having poltergeist activity and stuff like that.
Oh, I've
Stuff
had it.
flying out of cabinets and
Yeah,
just crazy stuff like that nonstop. Um, so
poltergeist
yeah,
activity
it
is
definitely.
very scary. Very scary. I've
Yeah,
had
yeah.
it when I was 8, so I that's one of the reasons the podcast exists to begin with, because of my interest in it, because of my poltergeist experience I had as a
Okay.
young boy. So yeah, so there's a shadow figure in, what is it, your bedroom that you were taking a picture at?
Correct. Yes.
And this showed up every night, like in front of your, what, like at the foot of your bed, or
Yes, I'd be on the right side of my bed. Since then, literally, I have not been able to sleep facing the right side of any room. Still to this
oh
day, I
my
can't do it.
God, dude.
It's like something subconscious to where whenever I do it, it's just like my anxiety gets way too high and I have to
Mm,
turn. Like I cannot, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I still can't do it, which is weird. But yeah, I mean it would pretty much
I
show up
understand.
just about every night. And just stand there.
For how long? Did you have to have a priest over, or what did you do to maybe, or is it still there? I don't know.
It's probably still hanging out. And the big problem with this was oh man, it led to some very dark times because if I would go and stay at a friend's house, the next day they would report having the same activity that I was having at my house.
Oh my God,
And
what did you
this,
do at this house that got you? What did you do? Did you take something from there?
no, I didn't take anything from there. I did get into a confrontation there, but the
Oh my,
crazy part is
oh,
that this entity I had a confrontation with years prior. at a totally different location at my good friend's house that I just kind of got thrown into. She didn't say that it was haunted or anything like that. It was just a rough night, so I stayed over there and I came face to face with this thing. And then for 4 or 5 years later, for me to go to outside of Wilder, Kentucky, Taylor Mill, Kentucky, and have this homeowner dealing with the same thing was just totally wild to me.
Are you
So, I mean,
saying?
I don't.
I'm sorry, also. Are you saying that the entity that you encountered at your home, you've also found at a
Yes,
friend's house, which was also at
yes,
this Taylor Mills, I think you're calling it?
yes, correct.
Okay, because you're saying you're a skeptical person, so I'm going to ask you, how do
Yep.
you know? Is it telling you names, or what? How do you know?
Well, so number one is the height of it, which is very tall, probably about 7 foot tall, shadow figure, and the same sort of activity. Number one thing is it hates animals. Taylor Mill, it killed the owner's dog. My friend, my friend, they ended up having to, well, her fiance ended up having to put her dog down because they were best friends. The dog didn't go anywhere without him. But one night he was in his room just hanging out, and he said everything flew off his shelves. So he ran out of his room and he goes down the stairs, and his dog is standing there just looking at him crying. He's like, "What's wrong, buddy?" And the dog literally ripped off half his face. This dog was the
The dog,
sweetest dog ever,
the
but
dog ripped off, did what? Ripped
he
off his
ripped
friend's
off half
face?
half yep, half of his face, his owner, who was his best friend. He never had it was the sweetest dog ever.
Oh my
Um, then my buddy who lives in Cincinnati, I went to his house for, a night or two, and after that, it started he saw his cat get thrown across the room. So it's this very specific type of activity, especially towards the hatred of animals, that kind of leads me to believe that it's the same thing in all these locations.
And what is this connection to you? Why do you think or feel that this entity is interested in you?
I couldn't tell you. I've been trying to figure that out for 15 years now.
Do you like kitty cats, Austin?
Yes, yes, yes. I
Well,
like
so do
my
I.
animals.
Yeah, so do I.
So, yeah, I don't
That's
know.
insane, dude.
That just goes back to staying up all night. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Was I led on this
Yeah.
path, or was I don't understand. I don't understand how all these things could happen. I don't know. you know.
And you still feel that this thing is kicking around in your house.
I think it is. I think it's definitely tamed. It's definitely chilled out a lot over the past few years. But
What do you think helped that, or what do you think changed its activity or what it's doing?
I honestly I don't really know. I think being more surrounding myself with more positivity has definitely helped.
Hmm,
Um, Things of that nature, I think, has definitely helped out a lot. Because
it's true,
it
man.
came back really bad about a year or two ago, where it got really bad, and I was in a very, very, very deep depression again. And
All right, buddy. All right, buddy.
these
I'm with
things,
you, man.
yeah,
I'm
these
with you.
things just started picking up as far as activity and everything went. And I think once I took a step back, looked at my life, and looked at the people who I had in it, and then filtered those people out.
Yes, the
And
vampires. I call them. I call them the vampires.
exactly, yes, all the energy vampires and all that. I
Yeah,
think that's
dude.
honestly what did it. I really do.
Wow. So interesting. So how long you been dealing with depression?
Oh, since I was born, probably.
God damn it! I have to exist. This is
Yeah,
bullshit.
exactly, exactly. Like, man, I didn't sign up for
Yeah,
this.
man.
Do I got to get a job?
Yeah, dude. I always talk to people like that. They go, I was like, like people always, there's this thing where the powers that be, the way I feel, they want you to feel like angry or sad about the mere fact that you exist. They want you to
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
you are not worthy of existence. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's why they tell you to, you have to do this and you have to do that and blah blah blah. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, it wasn't my choice to exist. You know what I'm saying? No one
Right.
asked me in the pre-parallel universe, which before this one, if I wanted to work at McDonald's for 50 years. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
there's a part of that too. But yeah, dude, I still deal with it too, man. So I'm doing a lot better though. After getting out of
Good.
Germany, you can imagine that cloudy,
Oh, yeah.
fucking dark place with all those rules, and now I'm down here in Mexico where it's really bright. It's pretty cool,
Yeah.
man. It's a cool place. Yeah, dude.
I bet.
So it is, dude. And there's some wild stuff down here too. I'm eventually going to do what you're doing. I just got to get my Spanish up to snuff. And a buddy of mine,
Awesome.
Ryan Voss, he runs a podcast called Codex Curiosities. Go over there and check him out. And
Okay.
he has a lot. He's done a lot of spirit work through his wife. His life. He knows about buffalo sage and casting like energy spells. And then my girlfriend's Catholic, so that helps. And
Okay.
and I'm gonna do it too. I'm gonna go into some of these because this is where I'm at. Is a town is like Blackbeard and Peg Leg and all that. They were here in
Oh,
this
wow.
place. And this, yeah, so there's a lot of like really spooky, a lot of
Yeah.
witches around here. So I got, yeah, she said to be careful. Everyone knows a witch here. Everybody.
Wow. Wow.
It's pretty wild, dude. So back to you, Austin. I've done a lot of different type of entertainment. This is just the latest, I guess you would say, part of what my life happens to be, and I'm enjoying it
Right.
a lot. I get to meet people like you, for real. I think you're a fucking cool guy, for real. Like I've only talked to you for 36 minutes now, and I've already feel like I've known you for a very long time. I know it sounds a little weird,
No, it's crazy,
but
right? Yeah.
I know, right? But so so this whole experience of what's followed you home happened
Mhm.
at this house that you were waiting at to go do to do an investigation in another place, and
Yes.
if this by chance thing happened to become a book. When did you
Yes.
decide that you were going to make a book of this? Was there something you just sat down after the whole situation, or was the
Um,
thought prevalent while you were there?
well, no. So we were initially going to do a documentary on this place. The homeowner was going to help fund it, but the lady who was running the property, very shady woman, um, she threatened legal action against us if we did that. Because of the apparition we caught, she wanted to take it and give it to certain TV shows and stuff of that nature. And we said, no, it's ours. So she was like, if you put this out, you're going to get sued. And she sent me this big, long copy from a lawyer. So I was like, well, that's out of the question. And so I
Okay.
thought about writing a book on it, but I started it and I threw it away 15 times because
Okay.
as a skeptical person myself, if you would have told me the things that are inside that book happened, I would think that you're absolutely insane. And I would have never believed any of it, 90% of it. And I really thought, I'm like, do I want to be this crazy person? Do I possibly want to destroy, my reputation in the paranormal field by putting this out here? Because I don't even believe it and I experienced it.
Right. Right. But
So
isn't
eventually
there
I did it.
isn't there though isn't there also a point though, Austin, in which you're thinking to yourself, um some what how would you say that? There's a point at which, the truth needs to be told no matter how uncomfortable it is. And I think maybe that's the driving force behind it. And it probably made you feel better too when you once you finally got it out in the press or whatever you did with it. It probably made you feel like
Yeah.
this process, I kind of helped you digest the whole situation, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Because someone said to me, there if this is happening to this family, it's probably happening to someone else's, and they're probably
Exactly.
feeling the same way as you are right now, who don't want to come forward because they think people are going to say that they're crazy, and it's like, you could possibly give them some sort of comfort and knowing that they're not insane. So that's the
Yeah.
big reason why I just kind of closed my eyes. I hit the publish button and hope for the best.
Yeah. Have you ever looked into things like there's one, I can't think, there's one in England, it starts with an E. It's a very famous place in England where the actual police came in and heard an
Yeah.
entity like
Are you
yelling.
talking about Enfield?
Enfield, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That what do you know about that one? Do you have you read into that one at all? Because I have a little bit, and I know there was a little girl involved, a little boy involved, as far as I remember, and it's like a very famous case. And And there's another one. I think the Bell Witch is also a very famous case, but I don't know if that holds too much water. So, like, being a skeptical person, like, which ones, now that you've had this experience in which you wrote a book, does it like give, like, the other stories that you heard, do they hold more water?
Yeah, so I will say Bell Witch, my buddy Eric that I'm filming with, he's really close to that. He knows the family that lived there or something and
Hmm.
that still operates it. And he says, that story it's a lot of fabrication, but there
Okay.
still is some stuff that goes on there. Um,
Okay.
but experience this literally made me open my eyes to okay, now anything is possible. Like nothing is off the table anymore. Um,
I felt
like
the
for
same way
example,
when I felt the same way when Arnold Schwarzenegger got elected as the governor of California.
right. Yeah, it was kind of like that.
Like, all right, okay, let's go.
Exactly. But it was a lot of things that I read about in these other cases. I'm like, okay, like you had me until this point, like paranormal earthquakes. I never thought that could be a thing, but then I
What's a
experienced it in that
paranormal?
house.
What's a paranormal earthquake?
Exactly what it sounds like. This house was shaking so bad, things were flying off the shelves, flying off the walls. Just an
Where
ungodly
Enfield?
sound.
Enfield?
So at Taylor Mill
Oh
that
my
I
god, are
experienced
you
personally.
serious?
Yes. And the
Oh
next
my
morning
god.
we figured it was an earthquake, so we checked with the neighbors. They didn't feel anything. We checked with I forget who we called. There's some sort of like weather, like
Oh, like,
I don't know.
yeah, I got you. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
They got
like, no, there
someone's got the
was
Richter scales going somewhere.
exactly, yeah. Check for seismic activity. There was nothing.
Right.
But yeah, and I that's been reported in some cases. I think Amityville had it. Um, just many of these famous cases have something like
I've
that.
seen it
So
in
I'm like,
movies, and I
okay,
always thought, like, come on.
exact,
Like, you
yeah,
know what I
100%.
mean?
Me too. Me
Right.
too.
Right.
Then after I experienced it, I'm like, okay, maybe these stories that I read about are not as far fetched as I previously thought. Like,
Wow.
if this can happen, who's to say that this other stuff can't? We talked
Hmm.
about, I believe it was it Amityville where they had, I believe it was Amityville where they would have rocks that would just fall inside the home and stuff like that, like stuff just like coming out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, maybe it's
Yeah.
possible. I don't
Yeah.
know
Now.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Like,
Yeah, I remember shoes flying across the room and doors being slammed in my face and going, like, okay, it's not what it seems, So, I mean,
right.
like, so for everyone to really, like, where you write a book about it, or the story you told me about the prison in Indiana, there's probably 200 that are not so good, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you're batting one for 200. That will not keep you in the major leagues, folks. So it's
Right.
a lot of legwork. I'm sure there's a lot of, like, setup to a lot of, like when someone, you probably get contacted by email or something, as I imagine.
Yeah.
And imagine too, there's like a vetting process. You have to, like, talk to the people, maybe, close out a couple ideas of what it could be. And then you have to also probably consider safety before you go there, because some people, let's face it, do deal with mental stuff and it's not really happening. And then how
Exactly.
do you go through that whole process of finding where you're going to go?
So as far as like people contacting us, we always refer them to someone else after we kind of do the initial vetting. Mainly my buddy Eric does it because he spent 25 years in emergency medicine. So he was everything from on the ambulance to in surgical rooms and stuff like that. So he's dealt with a lot of people and a lot of people who have, mental issues and stuff like that. So he can vet that
And
out
trauma too,
really quick. Yeah,
so
trauma as well.
right,
Absolutely.
right.
So he can
Oh,
vet
that's
that out
good.
really quick, and then usually, we can toss them out to someone that we know in the area, since we know quite a few people. But the good thing is with him, essentially knowing everyone in the world at this point. I can't believe that I'm now in contact with the people that I am because of him and because of everyone he knows. Um,
Right.
he's got reputable sources like the Mustafa and Brandon Alvis They were A&E's Ghost Hunters. Now they are Haunted Discoveries. Two of the probably the only two investigators that I really put all credence into, because of what they're out there doing. He'll hit them up like, hey, what do you guys think about this location? And the cool thing about them is, with Haunted Discoveries, I know you said you don't watch a lot of the paranormal TV, but what they're doing is they're working with the only man who has ever gained 2 PhDs simultaneously. And so they're working on this whole scientific research, and they're actually studying. One of the big things they're doing is they're studying photon events. So they have this special camera that was once used for like looking at galaxies, far, far away, like Star Wars, and studying them. But now they're studying these photon events where, we talk about these flashes of lights and like, spirits having to draw energy and there being this transfer of energy. And they're seeing how there's flashes of lights before certain paranormal occurrences that we can't see with our naked eyes, but exist and we can capture with this scientific equipment.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So being able to be in contact with people like that, and the others, we're able to very quickly kind of vet a lot of these locations, as far as, do we want to waste our time going here? Because, if someone like Brandon or John Curley's another one that we're good friends with, he's just a trip. If they say stay away, then we're going to stay away, because we try to go to locations that are not very well known. And mainly because we are a history first type of group. We want to get the history out there. We want to preserve history and then use the paranormal attempts to connect with history to modern day,
Okay. I really like that. I appreciate that. I think that's a very sensible way of going about it. Not to mention, because you can't, if you go in blind, I'd imagine you just kind of like, okay, who's here? But if you have some type of context before you go in, it probably helps things along and maybe getting a little bit further of an understanding of what's going on at specific locations.
Yeah, and the way we operate is, my buddy Eric, he goes in knowing all the history and everything, and I go in as the blind person. So that way I cannot be influenced by anything, and he can have
That's
kind of that
great.
clean slate to look at. Meanwhile, if we get something, he'll be like, oh, okay, I know what this is. I know how to feed into this, or I know how to build off of this. And, while I don't know really what's going on. So I can start connecting these dots as we're getting activity, and he can already know, where this roadmap is taking us to and be helping it along the way, if that makes sense.
It makes plenty of sense, dude. I think that's an amazing way of going about it. There's like a podcast I used to watch or listen to called the Last Podcast on the Left. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yep.
And they're all comedians, so that's where I am. They do, what's that called? True crime, and they also do like, paranormal stuff too. And
Right.
They'll have one comedian who knows what's going on, one guy who does all the narration, and one guy who's blind. So
Exactly.
that way it all just kind of meshes in and to create this show. But I'd imagine doing it that way too. So coming from two different angles, seeing the same thing happen or hearing the same thing happen or experiencing the same phenomenon at the same time gives a more rounded perspective, and it's probably a better approach because you can probably cross off a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you're doing things like EVP sessions or spirit box sessions or stuff like that, if him and I are hearing the same thing and it relates to the place, then that gives it a lot more credence than me going into, for example, we just did Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. A lot of history there. Everything from James Earl Ray, who assassinated Martin Luther King Jr., being there,
Yeah.
to all these crazy murders and stuff like that. When we're in there, we're getting names and stuff like that. It's easy to go into a place like that where all the infamous killers and all the history there, and hear something like, I think that said Tom. Yeah, that definitely said no. Like, now when you go in there, a blank slate, you don't have anything to reference to say, oh, I think it said this. It either said it or it didn't. So to have two people hear the same thing.
You have to be careful with EVPs too, because if you watch those shows, you'll hear and then at the bottom, it'll say what it said. And I'm like, and you know what I mean? And then there's ones
Exactly.
that are so crystal clear, or like there's one where you hear screaming in the background. I don't know if it's a very specific one that I've seen where it's like there's nothing, but you hear this crazy screaming in the background. You're like, okay, that's pretty crazy. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of influence, had because a lot of this is psychology too. A lot
Exactly.
of this psychology. It's very strange. It's very strange. So, do you ascribe to the whole like there's two different types of like hauntings? There's the intelligent one, and there's the one that repeats itself. Have you experienced that as well?
Yeah, I think that very well could be true. It seems like sometimes it may be something residual that just kind of,
Residual.
either whether it be stone tape theory or um, whatever it may be. Who knows? But yeah, it definitely seems like there's both sides going on.
So, is there like so what are you doing exactly? Are you're trying to? I mean, I know you enjoy doing it because there's a thrill to it. Let's be honest. There's an absolute thrill to experiencing these things that are sometimes, I would say maybe 20% of the time, unexplainable. I'm just guessing off the top of my head.
Hmm.
Um, so what is the other motivating factor to put some type of scientific, like where everyone can look at it and say, okay, we can test this using this method or doing this experiment, and it can be replicable or how do you say it? Where it's done again.
Right,
I've been
right.
working in the sun all day. Working in the sun all day. I'm fried and died and thrown to the side. Usually
I
my words
gotcha.
come a little. Everyone on here knows I can speak a little better normally, but so is that like part of your motivation? So like it can be replicated, like it can be done again, or what is your motivation other than the thrill of
So really, my motivation is number one, getting history out there and preserving history because I feel like that's so important and saving these properties. But also, it's mainly just to get people thinking. Because
it?
I had
Wow.
a really long thought process about this, and I thought really hard about this. And let's say because a lot of people are saying, we want to prove that the afterlife exists. I don't want to do that because let's go back to your days when you were dealing with deep depression, and I come to you and I say, here's undisputable evidence that once you die, you're going to go to this better place, do whatever you want. I don't want to have that on my conscience, and I
Oh
don't want
wow, dude.
to put that out there. I do not want the afterlife to be proven as existing
That
because
is
of what it
so
could
cool, dude.
imply.
That is so cool
And on
because
top of that, your girlfriend's Catholic. I'm not going to say she is wrong because of this, because no one knows. No one knows what's going on. No one knows, anything. So I just want people to think. Just think scientifically. Think about your beliefs. Think about, and we when we put up our last video of Old Stone Jail, we got attacked by a couple people who said you're going into these places respecting these people who might have someone who might have sexually assaulted someone who might have
yeah,
all
but
these things, and I'm like,
but
exactly, I'm like, they're dead. They might have done terrible things. They might not have. They could have been innocent. They could have been guilty. But just think about it. These were human beings. They affected human beings. These places exist. Just take it all in. Like I feel like the paranormal brings so many different emotions and thoughts, whether it be scientific, whether it be political, whether it be
everyone wants to be
societal.
offended too.
You know,
Everyone wants to be offended too. How
it's
can you be?
true. It's true.
I mean, there's been wars and this type of human behavior since the dawn of our species. Whatever it is, whatever
Right.
it is, that's not for us to discuss. But we do know, at least in the history that's been shown to us, that that's normal. So,
Yeah.
like, like I don't understand why people, you know what I mean? So every statue can be ripped down, every one of them.
Hmm.
Then another statue can be replaced, and that person can be ripped down again because that's what we are. We've been doing this forever. This is probably the most peaceful time we've had in a long, long time, and people don't want to do that. Like, there's a lot of fear being pushed out there. So people have these certain feelings and emotions about something where someone has been deceased for a very long
Right.
time, whether they've done good or bad things. It's not like we're
Right.
over here, giving a thumbs up to Hitler or anything, but it's still interesting to
Yeah.
talk about. It's still interesting to
Exactly.
find out what happened. If
Yes.
there was residual Hitler haunting, would you want to go there and talk to him?
Absolutely.
That would be
Absolutely.
interesting. A
Yeah.
residual Hitler haunting.
That'd be
That
wild.
might be the name of the episode.
Yeah. And you know, I th- I think one of the reasons why I really think about this is actually since you brought up Hitler, I remember watching what
Sorry.
yeah, no, but when I was
Since you
young,
brought up Hitler,
I saw this documentary on World War II, and they were interviewing this US soldier, I believe, and he said, you know, how did you feel about the Nazis and the Germans who were out there killing these Americans? And he said, honestly, he said they were doing the same thing that we were doing, fighting for what was right. And that shit stuck with me. You know, in their minds, they're fighting for
that's
what's
interesting
right. In
because
our
it's what
minds,
they
we're fighting
believed
for
was
what's
right and
right.
what we believe is right.
Exactly. And
That's
we look
interesting.
at the things that we do now in America versus other countries, and we talk about our involvements in other countries. Not to get political, but once again, we're saying this is what's right for them, but do we really know? You know, and so there's this interesting psychology to all of it, to where
Right.
people are doing, no matter how bad or how evil it is, they're doing what's right in their minds.
Hmm.
Uh, so I think that becomes an interesting talking point to
That's
where
a
you can
dark.
sit
That's a
down to
such a dark concept.
yeah, it's a crazy thought process because the thing is that the people on the other side are looking at us the exact same way, right?
Right
They're like,
now,
"Wow, these
they're
guys
looking
are
at us right
terrible."
now.
I
Yes.
exactly. So, I think it's interesting to sit down with even these horrible people of history and try to learn the psychology behind it because ultimately, in some way, shape, or form, we're also the horrible people in history, you know, in some other
Yep.
country, in some other world.
Yep.
So, you know, like
Yes.
you said, I just I don't subscribe to the whole, you know, let's get rid of history type of thing, uh,
No.
because it's important. It's very,
It
very,
is.
very important.
Yeah. At the same time, realize that from my point of view, a lot of it has been manufactured. A
Yeah,
lot of it. A lot more than
yeah,
we would ever want to even know, because it's hard to get down to the center of anything. Because what do they? Even for people who don't go down a conspiratorial route like I do, or
hmm
I can't speak for you, Austin, but they say that history is written by the victors. Okay, now take that and
correct.
say, okay, who controlled the victors?
Yep,
Who funded the sides of the victors and the losers? And what did they want out there? You know what I mean? Because it's my belief that maybe, I don't think the Nazis lost the war. I think Germany lost the war.
right.
The Roman Empire never fell. It became the Catholic Church. The English Empire didn't fall. It has become the banking system. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's very we've been one day. If you want to get into those kind of things, we can talk about that too, because that's my shit.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right, and we could even look into, I mean, not so long ago, Vietnam. That's a
That's an
big
interesting one.
example, you know, where
Very interesting one.
we were the victors, but really no, and then we find out that everything was misrepresented and they were misreporting the number of Americans dying over there and everything, like,
Well,
so it's
the
not
Gulf of
even controlled
Tonkin.
by the yeah, yeah,
The Gulf of Tonkin. The whole reason for going into the war, which 58,000 Americans and untold Vietnamese people, children and women, died
yes,
based on a false flag and a lie that has now been put out by the U.S. government under, what they call the Freedom of Information Act. And we
yep,
know that it was a false flag. And remember, guys, go ahead, go out there and keep believing in all this. So that's what we say about the psychological things that are involved in what's in play. So, like I said, to get back to what it is that you guys do, to approach it in a manner which you know the history to the best of your ability, of course. You know what I mean? And then one person being blind going in there, I think that's a very admirable approach to doing what you're doing.
well, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know where to go from there either.
That just got really deep out of absolutely nowhere.
That was great, dude. Don't worry. This is what I do. I like to keep people. I'm not saying I'm some type of puppet master, but I enjoy having an interesting conversation that
Right.
maybe you've never had before, that I've never had before. This is the best part of the podcast for me is the conversation. Of course, the
Exactly.
experiences are awesome, or scary, or horrifying, or enlightening. Of course, all that. But the
Right.
interaction interaction is what people like, because that's what I like
Yes.
when I listen to the show. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm definitely going to have you back on. I don't know what we're going to talk about then, but you seem to be like
Who
the
knows?
dude that we can talk about anything you want, really, to be honest with you. I'm open for all of it.
Hell yeah.
One more time, please do me a favor, my brother man. My brother man. I don't know where that came from either. And tell us where we can find you. Tell us about your books, and tell us, what's your future plans in this documentary that you're doing.
So you can pick up Taylor Mill Horror and Hell's Carnival right now on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle, paperback, whatever you want. And go check out Strangely Haunted over on YouTube. We took a small break because we have 2 videos up now that are about 30 minutes each. We're no longer doing those. From here on out, it's going to be feature full-length documentaries. And we'll be filming our second one here in a couple weeks, 2 weeks actually. And we'll hopefully have our first one being Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary coming out here next month. So I'm excited for that.
Sweet, dude. Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Do me a favor, stick around in the green room, and I'm going to check the recordings, and I'll end the show. Just wait 3 minutes. Is that okay?
I got you. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, man. So let's how do you do this? Hold on now. There we go. So that was Austin Lawrence. What a really fascinating and interesting guy to talk to. I really enjoyed that conversation. I hope you guys did too, because that was, for me, just fun. He just seems to be the kind of guy he's well thought out in what he's doing. He's experienced some very, very interesting stuff, and he probably still has that shadow being that he sent me a picture of. I'll take that picture and I will pop it up on Facebook if Austin gives me the thumbs up. And yeah, dude, if you keep finding yourself coming back here, like, subscribe, and go find me over on Spotify and Rumble as well. And if you want to sign up for our members, we get a free extra video a month. You can do that as well. So remember, guys, we are the eye, and we are aware. Until next time.
You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Remember, if you have any strange occurrences or stories or anything you'd like to share, please drop me an email at theeyeofjupiterpodcast@gmail.com and you'll be on the show. And remember, we are the Eye and we are aware. Thank you.